So now I'd like to call on Sally Walker. Sally Walker is the Health Support Project Coordinator and the GPS Local Project Leader at CASA, the Committee for Anglophone Social Action. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Took me years to learn that. And she's accompanied by Sandra Mace. Is Sandra going to join you, or she'll stay at the
I
table?
wasn't very sure, but yes.
Sandra is one of the GPS volunteers at CASA, and CASA operates out of New Carlisle and in the communities along Gaspé's Baie de Chaleur. Kelly and I also went and did a site visit there, and I think if you've been there, you know how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
And they will speak to us about engaging socially isolated seniors.
Thank you, and thank you for having us. You can just go I just wanted to start by showing you a few pictures of the communities that we have in our area. This is New Carlisle. New Carlisle has a population of approximately 1,365 people, with 60% Anglophones, and it's also the hometown of Rainy-LeVay. This is just an example I wanted to show you of what our winters kind of look like. We're actually in this moment right now. And then we have Hopetown, which is a population of 344 people. And there's 47% Anglophones in Hopetown. Just to give you an idea what our arena in our area looks like, it's outside. And we have Shigawak, which is a population of 338 people. Just another nice summer photo. And we have Port Daniel, which is a population of 2,430 people. And there's 335 Anglophones. We don't have any volunteers in this area, but I kind of thought it was just a nice picture to put in there to give you an idea of what our area kind of looks like in the sense of when we used to have Via Rail come through. That's where they passed. CASA's mission. CASA, the Committee for Anglophone Social Action, is a non-profit community organization dedicated to serving the English-speaking population of the Gaspé Coast by representing the community's interest in designing and delivering programs that respond to its needs. English-speaking seniors 65 and older. English-speaking seniors in this region have unique challenges. High caregiving demands upon few family caregivers, language barriers in accessing services, high rates of aging, low income, and low educational attainment. The topic that I had for this for the symposium was what was to be learned engaging socially isolated seniors during this project. Living in an isolated community is already a challenge in itself. Seniors who are isolated do not consider themselves isolated most of the time. Trust is a big factor in our area with our seniors. In our community, seniors have difficulty welcoming strangers in their home. Why? It makes them feel uncomfortable, in the sense that they might think we're coming in to take a social worker in to remove them from their home. Building a relationship with someone who is isolated is important. They need to trust you. Trust builds over time, and it could take weeks, months, or even years. One of the challenges that we had were recruiting our volunteers. All of our volunteers are seniors, reaching out to isolated seniors, and traveling expenses. Our successes. Our volunteers became quickly aware how a friendly visit from someone in the community made such a big difference in someone's life. From an LPL's perspective, it was a pleasure working with all of the volunteers. They welcomed me in their home every 2 weeks for updates as well as obtaining forms and a friendly chat. We would have not made this pilot project a success without each and every one of them. Here are some of the quotes that my volunteers wrote on their forms. I like to bake. Sometimes I bring them sweets just because I know they appreciate it. I love getting out. But the people we visit also enjoy our company. They even invite us for supper. Brought her a coffee from Tim Hortons. We talked about how hard it is to get out. One of my ladies says, I'm a busy woman, you know, but I enjoy doing things for people in general. I like getting them out, whether it be going for a hairdresser or going out for lunch. One of the outings that they did was drove to Port Daniel to see the McGuinness cement plant. Friendships are made. We went out for supper at Tim Hortons. We both were feeling down because a friend was found deceased. This outing seemed to help us both. Spending time with her makes her smile. CASA's priorities for action from 2018 to 2021: expand network of English-speaking volunteers. More volunteers are needed for home visits to isolated seniors. Transportation assistance and accompaniment. Where such services already exist, partner with the services provider to expand English services. Design and implement ongoing intergenerational activities targeting seniors' needs. Thank you. So I will let Sandra have to say a few words of what she experienced during the project.
Got it? I made one. I think I'm originally from Granby, and I moved down to Gaspé. And I made a friend with Barbie that now we talk 2 or 3 times a day on the phone. I went down, you saw how Sally's pictures about the winter. We've had a winter. Well, I went down to see Barbie, and within an hour it was like a blizzard. So I ended up staying down to Barbie's for 2 days. We couldn't get out. So we played crib and watched TV, taught the kids. But the main problem is, like Sally said, it's to get them to trust us, because they're so afraid that if their dishes aren't done or they haven't swept the floor, somebody's coming in and taking them away. They gotta, and that is one of the basic things down home. The project is great. The only trouble is it's going to take our community a whole lot longer to really get up and running. And mileage is another thing. I'm on a limited budget, and Barbie's 28 kilometers away. So budget-wise, it's hard too, you know, that they never took into consideration when we started up the program that it's going to be seniors visiting seniors on a limited budget. So the gas is $1.29 a liter, and you go through 1 tank of gas, it's $70. That's just one little thing that maybe with the project in the future you could think about, the elderly volunteers. But I enjoy it, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. Here you go, Sally.
Is there any questions?
I was just wondering, in your area, the services available in French, are they easier to access? Are there more of them? Is it a language thing, or is it really just because you're so far out and transportation is difficult?
Yes, the services are mostly in French. We can get them on paper-wise. We can't get them in English unless we actually ask for them. But yeah, it's more difficult to receive any health services in English.
Given that the trust issue was a very big issue for a lot of seniors, in your experience, have you come up with a strategy or developed a strategy to overcome that trust barrier, especially when the fear of the seniors that if their house is not exactly the way it should be, or they feel that it's messy, or something's out of order, that they may feel that it's a cause for someone to come in and remove it from their home? How do you go past that trust barrier?
It's not something that we have actually worked on right now, but it is something that we will definitely look into it. How can we get past that trust issue with someone that has never met us before, who doesn't know us, and how to be welcomed in their home.
How did you build the trust bridge?
Oh, with Barbie? We have a fair, a festival, Black Fair. And Barbie is a volunteer there, and I'm a volunteer. And her husband died about a year after. And then I started to go down, and she was depressed and wouldn't let anybody in. And it gradually came together. And she's got kids, and I've got kids, and all our kids are far away. So that helps a lot.
So you're persistent, so
Yeah, persistence.
This is it's an interesting issue. So people who know me have heard me talk about my neighbors across the street, because for me they're examples of what we're talking about. She's 93, he's 89. They don't have any relatives in Montreal. At that age, with mobility problems, they live in a split-level house, which is the worst kind of house to live in. And I have been on a campaign to see if I can talk them into moving to a better place. I can report to you that I've gotten absolutely nowhere. The things that it's made me think about, first of all, is, well, maybe I'm not explaining it very well, or enough, or I should really shake them up. I should warn them that if they fall into public services, they're not going to have any much control. I've thought about all these things, but the issue of trust it's absolutely central. And what I've settled for up to this point is that they accept me as a neighbor. They like my visits. I bring my dog. They love dogs. I may never get anywhere with what I think is better for them. Sometimes I ask myself, am I enabling them? By not pushing harder, am I enabling them to stay in a place where it's not really helpful? I keep going, and you have to be persistent.
It's like with Barbie, what I was saying with Barbie, when she lost Richard, I'd go down and I'd spend an hour. And all I was doing was just sitting there while she was crying, So you can't do any much more than take your time. And as far as that neighbor's never going to move.
The thing with that is they don't like change. The problem living in that house, how many years? 40 years? Well, you take them out of that, and it's like taking them to another country, and they don't want to move. So I think what's best is to make it adaptable for them. And let them stay there as long as they can.
There you go. I didn't intend to get all this advice with that.
So what I'm gathering is that in your case with Barbie, I believe it was, there was some type of life-changing event, some catalyst that made them reach out to you, and you were there at that point.
Well, it started like a year before Richard died, and then it just grew a whole lot more.
So you had that relationship beforehand, the catalyst of the family.
Casually with both of them.
So it seems like in a lot of cases, if I'm gathering, and I've heard a lot from a lot of different seniors, especially in Michael's case with his neighbor, something happened. They needed some help and they turned to somebody. And so maybe it's looking for those catalysts, those things that make that change where we can be present at that point to support them. So it's a very interesting, it's a very interesting one too.
And I went to them. Like I started at the fair with Barbie and Richard, and it grew a little bit.
Yeah. And you reached out to them when
Yeah.
they needed you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
As you approached volunteers to help out, what were some of the kind of traits that you were looking for that would be good, and what would be some danger zones, some areas where perhaps the volunteer wouldn't be quite right? So that's one question. And the second one was, did you have any sort of resource for volunteers if they became affected by a certain circumstance in the person that they were visiting?
We have 7 wellness centers that we do from Mattapitta to Gaspé, which is, let's say, 600 kilometers in total, where we meet groups of seniors on a weekly basis. There is where I went to look for volunteers, because in our area, the younger version of our communities, they kind of say, well, I work a full-time job, I have children, I don't have time to volunteer. So this is where mostly all of our volunteers came in as seniors. Now, looking for the dangers for our you mean as the volunteer was out visiting with the isolated senior?
Just to make sure that it's a good match between the volunteer and the person they're visiting.
Since they're very small communities, it's kind of like everyone knows everyone, but not personally. So we've actually heard of that person. So they kind of really know before they go if they're in danger or not, type of thing. Just because it's more, like in the city, you pretty much can't go mouth to mouth to give out information. But in our communities, mouth to mouth is how we get out our information, more than on social media like Facebook and stuff. So the more we talk about it in our communities is how it gets around.
It's a matter of opportunity. That people who are not that interested in receiving some assistance now can become interested in receiving assistance at some later time because something happens. So in my example, the wife in the couple had an operation and she had to go to a rehab hospital, and the husband didn't know how to get there in his car. So he became open to me driving him, and that sort of started kind of a relationship. And then that period was over, and so now I still visit, and I think other things will happen over time. So there are things that come up that make the people in question feel differently about what help they need and who they're willing to accept it from.
I do have experience with people that are helping out a neighbor, and that neighbor then becomes completely dependent on them. And they tell a CLSC social worker perhaps, or nurse, that they don't need anybody. They have grocery shopping done for them, they have meals, they have someone to take them somewhere. And then the person who's helping ends up burning out, or is afraid to tell the person they can't help them that much. So it's just an example too, to make sure that you, if you can, give them more resources for other things available. And if something happened to you, they wouldn't have you to count on either.
Very much so we're continuing to do well. There are guests who have gone out of their way to be present in the course of the day. They can't stay for the whole day, but I'd just like to signal the presence of Margaret Guest, who is Marc Garneau's assistant, and is where?
Stand up, Margaret.
There
Take
is
him out.
Margaret Guest.